everything with construction is possible. And, as a builder-minded contractor, we're able to make the impossible possible sometimes.
My name's Nick Campbell, been with Gordon Highlander for 5 years, been in the industry for 25 years. I currently lead our ground up division, so I'm out in the tip of the spear, pursuing clients, pursuing opportunities, and then bringing those opportunities into the pre-construction world, and then making sure that those opportunities are getting to our operational team to set them up for success.
My name is Blake Eldridge. I've been at Gordon Highlander for 5 years now. I work with Nick on the pre-construction side in the ground up division, helping out early on with some of our clients and seeing that process all the way through to operations. When I think about ground up, different from a spec build or interior finish out deal, is all the unforeseen conditions that you may face in the subsurface or the soils. And so we often say that most good construction stories are dirt stories, right? And it's how fast can you get out of the dirt in the tenant or the spec building into the building. And so that's one of the challenges we face early on, and that just ties right back to partnering with some of our trusted subs and seeing how we can overcome some of those challenges.
From a ground up perspective, we're going to approach a speculative build and a build to suit similarly. We really, like Blake said, that all the risk is in the site, in the dirt, right? And so really understanding that early on, having a solution to that early on, it really sets the project up for success. With the spec ground up project, we're going to be looking at keeping that design, keeping that speculative build flexible. When we're looking at a build to suit, we are laser focused on exactly meeting the tenant needs. And so that's kind of the difference.
So a lot of times we'll be building the spec building or the tilt wall, and the client will then come to us in the middle of the project and say, hey, we got a tenant. And so then it flips that mindset to now we're in kind of that build to suit mindset and directing the building to be specific for that tenant. And so, things will come into play as, we're in the middle of construction and navigating some of the different things and shifting that mindset so that that tenant can have what he needs when he's ready to move into the building. Recent project we did, we were close to the finish line, and then all of a sudden they have a tenant coming into the building, and that tenant needed, I guess, X amount of square foot to be refrigeration. So all of a sudden we're having to up some of the condensing units and the conditioning of the space to now accommodate that said tenant.
We call these spec to suits,
yeah.
Right? So
maybe a new term.
Right. And those are home runs for us. We are market leader in tenant finish out. So we know that those guys are going to be coming in right behind us and going to deliver excellence for our clients.
It's also a rewarding process too, because then it kind of shows that a client is trusting us to, be involved on the front end, and then, trusting us with their tenant to finish out their space. And so it's nice seeing a project from day one when we're working with the civil engineer and focusing on some of the site challenges to now then, hey, what does this tenant need to be operational and successful in their space?
Some of the early decisions that are made on the ground up project are power needs. That's been a huge one. We do a lot of work in Central Texas, and power seems to be a really big challenge in some of the infrastructure. The population's kind of outgrown the infrastructure, so understanding what type of tenant that the developer's going after, or if it's a build to suit, understanding their power needs, because there is a major challenge there, and getting ahead of that and in front of that. Because some of the equipment and infrastructure takes a couple years to get to your site. So really owning that and understanding it and working with the client closely so that you don't get in a position where you have a building and you can't turn the power on. From a business development standpoint, understanding the market, working with our allies, our subcontractor base, knowing where infrastructure is still kind of behind. And so when you're talking to developers, when they're bringing site opportunities to you, getting our thoughts on what it looks like, and arming them with the information that they need in order to make decisions on, closing on the land and moving forward, or maybe looking for another site.
We deal with a site that probably doesn't have the infrastructure in place to get the power that they need. The good news is that everything with construction is possible.
Right.
And, as a builder-minded contractor, we're able to make the impossible possible sometimes by partnering with, an electrician early on and figuring out what the best way or best route for that developer or said client is to get power to that site. Another, area where we navigate and making early decisions is focusing in on if they're, a long-term holder in the development. Are they wanting a, thickened slab, maybe the building envelope, and then again partnering with some of our trusted subs and kind of evaluating that cost early on so that said developer or client can make an educated decision on kind of what investment they want to make to that building. It's beneficial when you can get a general contractor involved early for them to then spread their net to their subcontractor base. And it's truly special, what can come out of that if everyone starts working as a team and collectively and understanding one goal and one thought in mind and pushing to that solution.
Yeah, I'd say for the most part, we're always involved early to some degree. Sometimes it's just a blank sheet of paper and getting our thoughts around what we could do there. And early, conceptual budgeting. Sometimes we get drawings, and then, it's a little bit of a different involvement on the front end. But we're always giving pricing feedback. We're normally partnering with the design team early on.
Most of our clients treat us as a valued partner early on and less as a commodity. And they see kind of what we can do to help them early on to get to the solution or closer to a solution, I should say, in a specific building or understanding, cost per square foot of what X square feet might be against a different size building. So the earlier the better, really, for us.
Yeah, I think that's highest value for our clients is when we can get in early, help frame up decisions for them, whether it be cost, whether it be site challenges. Some of our developer clients, owners, are super sophisticated, and they've got internal resources that understand the process and are used to kind of managing that front-end process. So then they'll use us differently. They'll use us for pricing feedback, for kind of what we've seen in the market. But then you've got other developer clients who don't have those internal resources, and that's where they're going to lean heavily on us to kind of take them through the process and approvals.
When we're working on a build-to-suit project, for example, or even a spec ground-up development, we're bringing our operations team early on in the process to help with logistics, scheduling, and just inviting them in on the process to look at it through their lens operationally and how it gets built. So we're not just focusing in on a number, but rather how can we build this, in the fastest way, most efficiently for the client. And so their involvement's extremely important for us.
Yeah, we have a very rigid process when it comes to handing projects over to our operations team. And as Blake said, it's very collaborative. It's not just a one meeting, hey, here you go, good luck. We work hard to set them up for success. I think 80% of kind of the project success happens before the project gets built. So, when you plan with your operations team, you get that right, you get the right number, you get the right schedule, then it makes it easy for those guys to then deliver.
I guess it goes back to what Nick was saying, when Gordon Highlander first started, we were known as, an interior finish shop contractor. And throughout these last 5 years, we've delivered quite a few projects for some marquee clients and large e-commerce tenants. And so I think that's driven a lot of the stereotype around Gordon Highlander on kind of who we are and what we're really about. And so we've done some exciting things in the last 5 years on the ground up side, and it'll be even more exciting to see what the next 5 years would look like for the ground up team here.
The talk right now, obviously, is all the data center work that's going on, particularly here locally in Texas, in North Texas, and then even out in Abilene. I think is the big one that everyone's kind of talking about, which is exciting. Because it means more projects, but it also is a challenge because it's really soaking up a lot of the resources in the labor force. So, I'm afraid that we're going to have some challenges to overcome with quality subcontractors because they're going to all be, I think, focused in pursuing that data center business that we all hear about that's just booming. It's important to me that in our ground up services that we offer, that we diversify. Industrial was an easy entrance because of the legacy relationships we had. But since we started ground up business, we've done a private Christian daycare center. We've done several metal buildings. We're doing apartments.
Yeah, medical office building.
We're doing a medical office building, which is really exciting. So again, we look to continue to diversify. I think that just better positions us for future growth. In Dallas-Fort Worth, there are several really good contractors, which is a great thing. It's very competitive, and lots of good contractors. So how I think about what makes us different, we don't swing a hammer any faster. We don't do anything particularly different when it comes to the nuts and bolts of construction. So how I feel like we look different is how we serve our clients, and the responsiveness and really going the extra mile for the things you don't see on behalf of our clients.
There is no traffic jams in going the extra mile. And so, while we're excited about all the relationships we currently have, we look forward to all the relationships that will come as we look towards the future and kind of what those next 5 years are going to look like for us here. So we're excited.
Yeah, what it really comes down to is who do you want to work with? Who do you want to be with? I mean, when we do these projects, we spend a lot of time with our clients, and just want them to think about who would they like to really just be around and work with, and what culture they're attracted to, and I think that makes us different.